This thing cranking. 30 minutes with Cool Rob. Let's get it in.
Let's get it in. 30 minutes with Cool Rob.
Yo. Welcome back. It's your boy Cool Rob, cooler than cool, cooler than most, cooler than the other side of the pillow. And welcome back to another episode of What's on Your Mind, 30 Minutes with Cool Rob. I'm your host, Cool Rob. Thank you so much for all the love and support out there. Touching the soul, the soul touches beautiful things, so keep it coming. Don't forget to subscribe to Cool Rob TV, all caps, leave comments, like, dislike, engage with me and engage with us, because we're always looking for new people to come on the show. I'm glad I got all that out. I got a special guest, y'all. Let me hurry up and introduce him. My boy, Fredd Carroll. How you doing, Fred?
I'm awesome. How are you? Cool, Rob.
My man. Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate you taking time out your day for coming on the show.
No problem. People actually call you Cool Rob? Is that the...
Yeah, they definitely do that. They've been calling me that since 10th grade in high school.
Okay, Cool Rob.
Even the people at work be messing around calling me Cool Rob.
Good. Well, it's better. There's a lot of worse things they could call you.
Thank you so much, man. We're gonna have some fun. I just want to let the people know that, man. Me and Fred been talking. Shout out to my boy Steven. Steven is the reason why me and Fred is here today. He set this up. But Fred told me, he's like, man, he ready to get it in. So I got excited, Fred. I'm ready to get it in with you. You ready?
I'm ready.
And before we get started, 3 things about Fred. Just tell us 3 things about you.
You want to know 3 things about me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a father, an author, and a podcast host. So, and those are the order I control everything. There you go. Being a father is the most important.
Mm-hmm.
Being an author is the way to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
And having a podcast is fun.
There you go, brother. We're going to talk more about that author, too, because I'm getting ready to get into writing. I think I'm going to write a book, Fred.
Yeah, go ahead. Anybody could do it. It's just hard work.
I'm definitely going to talk to give me some pointers. All right, y'all. Like I said, this is another episode of What's on Your Mind, 30 Minutes with Cool Rob, and the clock will not start until I read the first statistic, Fred. So, ready, brother?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. 12:02, the clock will start because I'm getting ready to read the first statistic. So we're going to call this today, Fred. We're going to call this the state of America going into 2021.
All right.
Yeah, you ain't saying, we'll let that sit right there. The state of America going into 2021. All right, here we go, Fred. Poverty rate jumped from 9.3% in June to 11.7% in November. 12.7 adults are going hungry at times. 9.1 adults are falling behind in mortgage and rent. Fred, in the world where unemployment rate is 6.7, 1 million to 2 million new cases will likely be reported by January the 16th, 2021. Fred, I ask you, when you hear these statistics, what's on your mind?
Well, I could tell you, just for instance, the UPS guy that just delivered my package a little while ago mentioned to me that he's losing his job January 15th. So that's where the numbers are going to grow from. These part-time workers that came on for holidays,
mm-hmm.
and UPS is laying everybody off. So it's just going to keep growing. The one thing, I don't know much about the numbers and stuff, depending on states you live in and stuff. So I'm in Connecticut, and I'm unemployed. I'm unemployed right now. I'm on unemployment. I got 1 check left. I've been laid off for a year now, and I have no job for next week. Now, I fall into a different category where fortunately for me, I saved money and have a savings, and I'll live off that. And my children are grown at this point. But I can't imagine, with all the bullshit that's going on in politics and stuff, and I'm not a very political person. I put it this way. I support the president who's in office, whoever it is. I never root against my president, because then you're just rooting against yourself. But I'm also not a fan by far at all of what's going on both sides. It's all bullshit. They're all screwing us. We're the only ones paying for this. So with unemployment and stuff, I can only imagine the pain that some people are going through trying to pay these bills. And it goes further than just a person out of work, because now it's affecting the landlord, who also worked very hard to buy that second home and deserves to be paid for that home. He's got a mortgage to pay on that home, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
So the trickle-down effect of it is the problem. And what's it going to lead to in the end? Crime. It's going to lead to further crime because people need to feed their families. And crime eventually falls in your lap to, it's just one of them things. I don't know the answer, but I know they don't know the solution either. And we need to get out of our own way very soon.
Good stuff. A good way to lead us all, Fred. So we're going to jump right into it. Let's go. All right, so I'm going to say it again. 2 million new cases, Fred, right, will likely be reported by January of 2020. You may have answered it already, but once again, your thoughts on COVID. Just overall, starting from when it first hit to where we are now. We are at December 29th, 2020. Thoughts on COVID?
Well, I think it falls into, you hear the extreme on COVID, you hear you got the naysayers and the people that are scared to death of it. And like most things, it probably falls right in the middle there, where personally my thoughts on it are, I know I'm mortal. I'm going to die one day, but I'll be damned if COVID's going to be the reason. I'm going out on my terms. I don't want COVID to be the reason. So I follow the rules. I follow the rules. If I go to a store, for instance, and they require me to wear a mask, I put my mask on. That's their rules. And if I don't like it, I go to another store that doesn't make me wear a mask. That's just a respect thing, in my opinion. But COVID itself, I don't trust these vaccinations. I'll tell you that. But I would get it, but I don't trust it. It happened very quick, and I'm not sure. So I'm going to sit back and watch other people get it first and see what happens. See if the zombie apocalypse starts or not.
Now we're about to get it in because you beat me to it. Because my next question, Fred, was a lot of people that I know and I talk to, no matter what color they are, black, white, blue, green, or yellow, said that COVID was man-made. So first question, do you believe it was man-made?
No, but I also, first of all, I have no degree in science and stuff. I don't believe, possibly man-made. I don't know what man-made actually contains, but I don't think it was done on purpose. A lot of things are man-made that aren't meant to hurt you. I think it was human error. Yeah. So that would be man-made to a point. There's a lot of human error here. And on our part, China's fault. I'm not a big fan of blaming China per se, but I'm awake. I'm watching. I'm paying attention to everything around me. I'm very careful and it's hard to talk too. And that's part of the problem, talking to somebody about it. You can't ask questions anymore because the minute somebody's uncomfortable with a question, they're mad at you.
Right. So can you elaborate more on human error?
Well, I'm assuming, and this is something I don't follow 100%. I'm not big into, once the blame game started, I kind of phased out of it. I've got other things I could be doing that are more productive than listen to 8 different versions of a story or read 8 different versions. But I guess in whatever was made in this lab, I just think that the human error was somebody let it out of the lab, out of its safety zone. And it's that deadly that it spread. Now, I might even be foolish because I don't know what I'm talking about directly. I don't have the science background or to care to know about that stuff. But I do trust scientists. I trust science. I trust doctors. If they tell me something, I have more of a tendency to trust them than somebody on Facebook who dropped out of high school.
Right there, Fred. Now we get to the vaccine. So you just said that you don't. No, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So what'd you say about the vaccine again?
Well, I said that I don't necessarily trust it, but I'm kind of going to sit back and watch. Obviously, I'm not a healthcare worker or a frontline worker, so I'm not first in line anyway to get this. which to me makes no sense from a, I see most things from a comedy standpoint, but I wouldn't be giving the shot to the people that we need to survive. We're giving it to the doctors and stuff. What if this shot went horribly wrong and now all the doctors get something that goes crazy? Who's going to take care of us?
Hey, who will take care of the doctors?
That's right. So, but I'm saying it came about awful quick. And this shows you one of two things. Either they can solve world problems if they put their heads together, and they could do it in 9 months, or this is just a sham that is to satisfy our efforts to move forward as a country.
Stuff right there, Fred. All right, so Fred, poverty, 11.7. Adults going hungry, 12.7. Adults failing to pay rent and mortgage, 9.1. Fred, who should be to blame for this? Is it society or is it the adult itself?
Wow, that's tough. That's a tough question because I'm sure you could argue on both sides at different points. Of course, people are responsible for their own being, but we live in America. The United States of America should never have a hunger problem, nor a homeless problem, but especially hunger. Hunger is the one thing. I don't know if you have children, but when my children are grown. My youngest is 20, so they're 31, 27, and 20. If my 31-year-old says she's hungry, I'm sending a pizza. I can't stand my kids to be hungry. The word hungry itself, I can't stand looking at anyone being hungry, and it makes no sense in America. First of all, we're sending all this money now in this stimulus bill. I'm quite sure if we could find $900 billion all of a sudden for a stimulus bill, I didn't see anywhere in there where it put $100 billion aside for hunger, whether it be world hunger or local hunger.
Right.
So, but the person is responsible to a point. I'm sure there's instances out there where the person made a horrible decision in their life that caused their family to be either have no money, no food, no housing. So it's hard to say who's to blame. I don't know if there is blame, but I know there's a solution, and the solution is removing the stigma. We have to remove stigmas from everything, from addicts and everything. The minute we call them an addict, we're afraid of them. They're dangerous. But they're still a human being. And the minute you call somebody poor, that's a stigma. Well, let's remove the stigma and treat poor people the same as we treat rich people, as we treat middle class people. It's all about the stigma. So that would help.
Fred, do you believe homeless people who have mental issues?
Well, once again, I'm sure there's many that do, but there's also people with homes that have mental issues.
Right.
So mental issues, mental health is very important to me. And not that I deal with any of it myself personally, but once again, that goes back to a stigma. That's something we also put on people. We're telling people they're dangerous because they're mental. We use the word mental like it's dangerous when it's really a disease. It's a sickness that needs to be cured. So I don't know. It falls into that same realm of, I don't know. I really don't know.
The reason why I asked that question, because I'm sitting here thinking like, all right, so where I live right next to with a giant, and some homeless people would like to sit out and lay out on the bench at night. When it gets real cold out there, if you go out there, you don't see them. So in my mind, they know it's cold. They're not going to be out here tonight. So they know how to get up and get out, and go somewhere and seek some warm and be inside when it's 20-something degrees outside. In my mind, they should be able to not want to live this life and get up and change their life around. That's why I asked that question.
And I understand it from the point you're asking. And that's what makes interviews like this so well. So for instance, where I live, and this is typical, I don't know how else to tell you. It's just a wealthy, small white town. So we don't have a homeless problem. So that's a problem too in the world, is like my children, dealing with my children. And this goes from racism to sexism to homelessness to caring. when you raise them in this environment, you have to be the parent and teach them further. You got to show them, like I have to show them New Haven, Connecticut. I have to take them to New Haven and show them it's okay to be that guy. It's okay to be that guy and that woman. And it's okay to be gay. It's okay to be straight, because my kids grew up in a safety zone. This is a safe place, you know, and I put that in quotes because it's not. There's nothing safe about this safety that they think is built around money, because that just means the drugs are rampant. These kids get hooked on all this opioid stuff. So it's definitely the homeless part. I do think there are instances where they want to be homeless. And sometimes that, I don't know if that would be a mental illness though or not. I think there's people that they just feel like they're always looking for pity. There's definitely pity people out there who love the drama of poor me, poor me. Now, I'm not a fan of those people, but regardless, if somebody needs help, I'm all for helping. We only get one life. They only get one life. You get one life. I get one life. I'd rather everybody have a good one.
Good stuff right there, Fred. I knew once we talked yesterday, I said, man, this is going to be good right here. All right, Fred, so thoughts on racism, right? And this is how I put this together. As a Caucasian, all right, let me say it like this, because since I've been doing this podcast, I've been in the podcast world, I have white friends, right? I have white coworkers, you know, right? And I have white friends that come on and talk about sports, wrestling, you know, anything like that. But when it comes to the issues, you know, that we face out here today, they'll say, yeah, they'll come on, but then when it's time, you know, they'll say, you know, or they'll just back out, you know what I mean? Which is fine, you know, it's cool. You know, they're still my friend at the end of the day. So to have you on and talk about these issues, it really means a lot to me. Let me just say that. So as a Caucasian man talking to a black man, right? Remember, the state of America going into 2021. What's your thoughts on racism going into 2021?
Well, this is good. This is good because I can give you a little backstory. First of all, I grew up in an area that when I graduated middle school, I was one of 4 white kids in the school of a class of 300. Okay, so I grew up and hold on, before I even say the word, this is part of the problem, the political correctness of it all. What am I supposed to call, for the lack of a better term, because in my mind, it's a black person. What is the politically correct? What am I supposed to say as a white man? Can you give me that answer? What is the right word for me?
Well, here's my answer to that question. In the political world, it's a black man, and the social world is bro.
Right. Okay. So I could say black man without feeling like I hurt anybody's feelings for the most part. For the most part.
Yeah.
Because I never want to offend, but you know, getting into the racism part of it, because I grew up in the environment, in a poor area, in the environment where I was surrounded, it was mostly Spanish. I used to say it was mostly Puerto Rican, but I grew up and understand now that Spanish, to me, back in 7th grade, Spanish meant Puerto Rican. I didn't know there was Mexican was Spanish and Spain was, I didn't know all that stuff. So I grew up mostly Spanish community, and black, and I got beat up a lot. I got into a lot of fights. I got in a lot of trouble. Now, am I guilty? Of course. I'm an asshole. You know, at times I could be a jerk. I could be a pain in the ass. I'm also very vocal, so I'm not afraid to vocalize and stuff. And I remember in the 7th grade having my own thoughts on racism. In other words, when you're taught, and I was taught from a personal level, that you keep getting beat up by this genre, this person, this whatever it is, their color, whatever they are, you're going to tend to not like that person, you know, and then you're going to judge everybody. But that's when I was younger. Now today, I know the difference. And, you know, part of the issue with racism in general is you need to ask questions to learn about other cultures, whether it be race, religion, sexual orientation. But it's no longer politically correct to ask questions. So how do you get the answer if I can't come on and talk to you and ask you, I will never understand. Like, I can't watch the news and read about how hard it is to be black with the police issues, because I'm not black.
Right.
So I could only ask you that question, like, cool Rob, what's it feel like to drive down a street? And like, because I'm aware, listen, in my neighborhood, it happens all the time.
Mm.
If any man of color, and this could be an Indian gentleman, a black man, it could be somebody with a really good tan.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. If I see him walking down my street, you could be damn sure there's going to be a cop here within 5 minutes following him. And that still happens in my town. It's not right. I don't have control over it, but that's the reality in these towns, and it's still happening. Nothing's changed. I don't know if it's changed on your end from cops pulling you over for no reason and stuff. You know.
Well, it's funny you say that, because for me personally, I'm 37 years old. I never had a problem with the police, right? I'm saying it one time. I never had a problem with the police. Never, like, never, like, bothered me or racially profiled me. Never. My problems would come when I was with a group of my friends. Like, as I would come up, like when I was with a group of us, then yeah, I faced those problems every once in a while. But when I'm by myself, I never face those problems, because I'm a middle class citizen. I'm a good person at heart. I don't, I'm one of those people where I know how to take myself out of situations. I'm a leader. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a follower. So you're not going to follow. You're not going to have me following you to some whatever. I lead. You know what I'm saying? So I never get caught up in certain situations. So, but yeah.
But you know somebody that has.
Definitely.
You have a friend who's just as good as you, just as nice as you, just as following the laws as you, who's been pulled over for no reason.
Right.
And, there's bad cops, but we can't have bad cops. You can't have bad cops. There's certain things, what's his name said? Who was it? Chris Rock, that said there's a few things you can't have, and that's bad cops and bad air pilots. You can't just crash an airplane and say, sorry, he wasn't a good pilot. You have to have good cops. You have to have good. Now, I'm pro cop, just so you know. I have tons of friends that are in the police world and stuff, and they're all good people. I hear some of the stories that they have to deal with. I understand it from both sides. I think that's the problem. It's a think. That's just my mind. I don't actually understand it. How could I? How could I ever understand it? That's why I stay out of it. That's why I chose, there was people when the movement was going on with the Black Lives Matter. And people were going, well, blue lives matter. And then people are going, all lives matter. It got ridiculous. They didn't understand that the movement wasn't meant for that. Right. That's not what they're trying to say. And people didn't, but I don't know. So I just stayed out of it altogether. Now, some people will say, well, that's just turning your back. That's voting for the opposition. So I don't know. It's hard to talk about, from a white man's perspective, what a black man's going through. And I'm guessing the opposite.
You know what, Fred? Something you just said that kind of stuck out when it comes to Black Lives Matter. I'm sitting here right now. I'm just as brown as caramel. And I'm not a believer in Black Lives Matter. I believe it's BS, to be honest with you. If you follow me, if you go on some of my other platforms and other shows, I speak out on it. Like, Black Lives Matter. I mean, some people, I don't want to say everybody, you know what I mean? Because, but some, if not most people, it's not a good cause, you know what I mean? Like I always tell people all the time, let a white cop come out here and kill a black person, right? You're going to see a riot. You're going to see people marching. You're going to see people looting. But you're going to see some people out here angry and upset. But I live, like I told you, Fred, I'm from D.C. and I live in Hyattsville, Maryland. I can go get the local newspaper, which is the Washington Post, and I could turn to a section they call Metro, and I can go down the line every day and read this shooting over here, this shooting over there, this shooting over here. I don't see no movement. I don't see no marching. I don't see none of that. It's only when a white cop kill a black person. So that's why I can't get with the movement. I think it was George Floyd, the George Floyd killer. I wanted to go down there and actually march, right? And I ain't gonna say a lot to you. I wanted to go and march. But as I start reading up on it, looking up on it more, I just start seeing more and more that I'm like, they're not doing it the way they're supposed to do it, man. It's too much going on. There's too many agendas involved, so.
But you don't deny that he didn't deserve to die.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, I'm not saying that at all.
Nobody deserves to die in the hands of a police officer. I get that. Situations happen and stuff. But what you just said about not believing, see, you could say that. I can't. If I say that, it's me being racist.
Right.
If I say I don't believe in Black Lives Matter, that's why I chose a higher path to walk away from all of it. And it's dicey. You don't know where to turn. And, like I was saying, when I was saying about being able to ask questions and stuff, but people are offended if you do not word a certain question
right
within their comfort zone. But the problem is you don't know somebody's comfort zone until you've crossed the line of their comfort zone. So it's hard to have a conversation like this. It's almost like this is how the conversations have to be, but we have to individually change our mindsets to let humans be human. And who gives a shit about their color, religion, race? Race is color. Race, sexual orientation, all those things. Who cares? You get one life. You might as well enjoy it. And I don't want to walk around scared, whether it's COVID, of race, I have a gay son. I have no problem with gay people at all. No problem. I think they're fun. I think it's fun. They're a blast. But who am I to judge them? That's my point with a lot of it. Right. Everything we're talking about are opinions. Right. There's no knowledge of it, but I have to take what you say because you probably understand the Black Lives Matters movement much better than I do.
Right.
Because it affected you and you have the research. I didn't do any of that. I chose to walk away from it all.
So good stuff right there, Fred. Here's a good question right here. What would your message be, Fred? Once again, as a Caucasian man, we just got finished talking about racism, right? The Black community, and I think I can speak for the Black community when I say this, feel that it's not all white people, but most white people are against us, right? So remember, the state of America going into 2021, Fred, if you had a chance to speak to the Black community that feels like white people are against us, what would your message be?
Well, first of all, I know this as a fact. It's what you teach, because you're not born this way. You're not born hating somebody's skin color, but you can be taught it. And I'll go out on a ledge here and tell you a quick story of when I had an awakening in what racism is, because I didn't think I was racist until I said something very racist. And this is very common in the white community, and you could imagine it. It might even be in the Black community, it might be common, but the opposite version of it. My oldest daughter, who was like 3, so I'm a very young man, I got out of the, if you want to call it the hood, we called it the hood. I got out of the hood, moved my family to Whiteyville, where it's safe, supposedly, supposedly safe. That's racist in general in its own, but that's okay to better yourself. If you're going to move up, you move up, whatever. But there is a racist quality to that. You're not really moving to where it's safe. You're mentally moving away from that zone. So I used to tell my daughter at a very young age, you better never bring a black man home. That's what I used to say to her. And I remember saying it. Now, why I said it? Because my parents taught that to me. So now I'm just a young man teaching this. So one day on Thanksgiving, I had a friend who didn't have any family come over, and he was black. He didn't have any family, so I invited him to my dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously not truly a racist or anything, but I guess I'm on the cusp. My daughter at 4 years old now turns to me and says, how come you could bring a black man home and I can't, in front of him? My daughter called me out, and ever since that day, I've never made that mention again and learned my lesson. Now, the reason I'm scared to tell that story is because obviously it makes me look like a bad person. But quite honestly, I'm just a human being who was taught one way and had to learn through a lesson that a child taught me. A 4-year-old taught me that I was being an asshole, basically.
So 2 things, Fred. One thing I do believe is when we share our stories, if you look at the screen right here, this is me sharing my story. This is part 1. Part 2 is coming out soon. I'm sharing my story. And I really believe when you share your story, share your past experiences, it helps people out. So someone is going to see this, Fred. They may not come in the comments, and they may not, say anything or reply or leave a comment, but they're going to see this video, and it's going to change some people's lives. I remember when I shared this story right here, I got endless phone calls, text messages, emails. Thank you for sharing your story. You helped me. So thank you for sharing that, because you just helped somebody out.
Yeah, and I think that's what it takes. And of course, there's negativity and there's positivity that's going to come out of it. But the only thing I could tell people, and I do tell people, is give me a chance to A, apologize for being that asshole, and B, let me grow into this and see what I could do. Give me a chance to change my mind. Give me a chance to show you that I do care about human beings, regardless of who they are. And I think when you tell the truth, it does. I mean, what's the old quote? Tell the truth will set you free.
Right.
There is a freedom involved in telling the truth. And what's the point of coming on here? And if we're going to talk about this, how many opportunities do I have to get asked that question? Who's going to ask me that question? I could be dead tonight. There's no promises to anyone. I'd rather tell you the truth today and let it lie where it lies. I don't think I did anything that anybody thinks doesn't happen in every single home. And like I said, I'm sure there's the opposite, where there's a black father telling his kid, don't ever bring home a white woman. It goes both ways. It's just people aren't, I don't want to use the word brave. They're not bold enough to say the truth, that they were once a bad person. And in quotes, I say bad person. I think I just did what I was taught. And that was the biggest point, was it starts at home. We have to start teaching our children the differences, that it's okay. And that's dicey too. It's just, everything's difficult. And one of the reasons I say that, and I'll say it quick, that I say it's difficult, what am I supposed to tell my 20-year-old daughter? 5-foot blonde girl. Now, if there's 4 guys on a corner, I'm going to tell her to cross the damn street. Don't walk through the 4 guys. Right. Now, it used to be, everybody used to say, if there's 4 black guys on a corner, cross the street. So I altered all my thought process because of what she said to me when she was 4. Mm-hmm. It's just 4 men. I don't care if it's 4 girls. Cross the damn street. The less interaction you have with potential danger, the safer you'll be. So we have to teach them. We got to get rid of, I guess, the colors. I don't know. It's so confusing. You're opening my mind now, and I want to talk for 5 hours.
Well, how about this? Because I see a partnership in the making right here. Just for the first time us getting on screen. And I'm letting you know right now, I want to work with you some more. You know what I mean? I want to work with you. As a young black male myself, would love to work with you so we can fight some of these issues.
Like a yin and yang?
Let's do it, brother.
A yin and yang. Yeah, you know how many, it'll be fun. Listen, it's important. I like doing things that are important. And like you said, just telling your story is going to get me to tell my story. And it's got to filter down eventually. As long as you don't cross too much of a line on your way there,
right,
you're going to offend some people. Listen, somebody's going to be offended by me because I'm not a politically correct guy. I'm not a educated man. I have an 8th grade education. 8th grade. I've never even finished 9th grade. Yet I have 10 books out. I've written 4 movies. I have 4 podcasts, and I've raised 3 children on my own as a single parent. So I've struggled and survived, and I'm still a comedian. I'm still a clown. And that's what you got to be. You just got to, everybody's got their flaws. Flaws are built into you. You can't fix them all, but you could be a better person.
Love your energy, Fred. No one's perfect. But before we end it off, Fred, I do got to ask you this question. So when she said it at 4 years old, I know you were shocked. What was your reaction? What was your first words? And what did your black friend say?
Well, so this was in North Carolina we were living at the time.
Okay.
Luckily, now I don't know how to say this, but he was, well, I guess I just say this. He was a black man, but he grew up in a white environment. Okay. I believe one of his parents is white, possibly. I don't have contact with him today. You know, so he didn't grow up like inner city or anything like that. So first of all, I was embarrassed. My wife at the time was incredibly embarrassed because she told me from day one, you don't say that to a 3-year-old. But I was only like 20 something years old. I was a child myself, just got out of the ghetto, you know, and quite honestly, reflecting back, I think I had what these racist people are looking for in somebody at that point. And that's where we got to change that too. The white supremacy. I hate using the word white supremacist because I think racism is a colorless, overall it's a colorless thing, but we're talking from a black and white perspective. But racism is hating Africans, hating Australians. I mean, they're hating the Irish, hating the Italians. It goes in so many different places, and there's everybody has a race they don't like. I mean, somewhere out there's a race you're not as comfortable with.
Right.
It's whether they admit it. But my daughter was, you know, in hindsight, thank goodness she said it, right? I mean, who knows where I am at that point? And who knows where she is? You know, because, you know, I could say this too. My daughter does date her boyfriend is a man of color, I guess is the word I could use. And I'm perfectly fine with that, which means I've made a big stride. Luckily, she didn't listen to me when she was 3 because she just loves human beings. And she taught me that it's okay, which is great when you're dating because now I could date anyone. Now I could date anyone myself too. So that's always good.
Like I said, Fred, I love your energy, brother. Appreciate you once again for coming on. We at the end of the show, but I would love to work with you again in the future. Like I said, I see a partnership in the making, bro. So if you got time available for me, let's work.
Yeah, we'll talk.
All right, Fred, I want to give you this opportunity to tell us about your podcast. You're an author. Take it away.
Okay, so I have 9 books right now, 9 or 10. I don't even know. You can go on Amazon, look up Fredd Carroll. Different genres. My most successful is a middle school series called The Adventures of Left Eye Lazy. as a screenwriter, that's my passion. Always wrote movies and stuff, and I write true movies about my life, which is going through different levels of things. But as a podcast host, I have 3 podcasts. I have Apostrophes Writers Series, and that's for authors and stuff. I have Within the Head of Fred is my baby, and that's a R-rated, similar to this, but with more comedy involved in it too. But I'll bring anybody on. We could talk about anything, and we're very passionate about suicide prevention is one big passion of ours. And my other one is called The Cinephiles Flashback, which is just a half-hour movie review. And all of them are available on Apple, wherever you find podcasting, you'll find us. But you'll probably see me on Cool Rob's page, so I'll do some advertising there. That's it.
Thank you so much, brother, for that. You got any shout-outs?
No, I'm not giving anybody any credit. Screw them. I'm taking all the credit.
Well, shout out to you, brother, for coming on. Like I said, taking time out your busy schedule for coming on the show. I really appreciate you for that one. What else I'm gonna say? Like I say, y'all, if y'all look, when y'all see this video, you are watching me and Fred, but you're also watching my part 1 interview, in my season 5, episode 1, part 1 of Cool Rob Show. Part 2 is coming out, y'all. So check me out. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe to my channel and check me out so you can see the part 2 story of Cool Rob. Fred, where can they find you? Where can they follow you? And where can they subscribe to you at, Fred?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. You can find you can go to Venom Podcasting, which is the company that has all my podcasts on it. That's a group page. And I'm everywhere else, but I'm not a big social media guy. I'm too busy.
I'm just the opposite of Fred. You can find me at Facebook at Robert Matthews. You can find me on Twitter. I got a Twitter account, y'all. You can find me on Twitter. I don't know my name because it's a long name. You can look up Cool Rob and you'll see my face on there. You can definitely follow me on that. But most importantly, you can find me at Cool Rob TV, all caps. It's Cool Rob TV, all caps. And Fred, I love to end the show with last words. It's your outgoing message. Fred, you got any last words?
Well, if I could be anything, it's when people hear this, take it easy on me. Take it easy on me. Don't be too, listen to how what I was trying to say. Sometimes I don't always vocalize it perfectly. Listen to the ultimate goal I was trying to build on my words. But I am a decent human being. I root for people every day. I love success. So I'm not a jealous guy. If you're successful and happy, I'm ecstatic for you. And I think that's a safer and easier. It's great for your karma. It's great for your soul. Just be a good human. Save the world if you can. Save your neighbor. Save yourself. First of all, save yourself. That's the biggest thing. Save yourself and then save your neighbor. Save the world. Do what you can. You're only here for a little while.
Let me say this real quick, Fred. I'm glad you shared your story, and I don't feel no certain type of way. I'm actually glad that we finally was able to hook up and talk, and I can see you're a friend already, Fred.
Good. You're my friend.
And my last words, if you laugh and you cry, it's a hell of a day, right? And no matter what you're doing out here, no matter what you're doing, because Fredd Carroll is an example of what I'm getting ready to say. Never give up. Never give up. Never give up.
Never give up.
There you go. Author, screenwriter, host, Fredd Carroll, and I'm Cool Rob, and always end off every show. Cool Rob's in the building over and out. And I got this new way I'm in the show, y'all. It's 24 hours in a day, right? If you took 30 minutes and spent it with Cool Rob, that's a hell of a day. Fred, love you. I love you. Bye-bye. We'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.